Welcome back. 10.2 I decided we'll do in class because it's more of like kind of in person. I've got to kind of show you guys in person type of thing. So I thought we'll do that in class. So we'll just go through 10.3 because it's directly related to 10.2. So I don't know why. Sorry, 10.1. So I don't know why 10.2 is in between. So why I said the textbook sucks. But essentially 10.3 is looking at ratios again. So what you guys did yesterday. And now we're just getting some more worded questions in because everyone loves worded questions. So there's nothing for me to teach you. So you need to make sure you understand 10.1 first, and then we're just going to do some of these. And again, I'm going to do all the questions here so you can follow along if you need to, and just double check your answers and see what I've done, and obviously get into my head and I'll teach you everything why I'm doing what I'm doing. So let me just rub this out. So if you're going to do it on your own, these are the questions I want you to do. So it's on page 234, and I want you to do questions 1 to 5, and then 9. So not many questions, only 6 questions. So pretty sort in a lesson and a half. Also, these need to be done by I'm back because we just can't waste time. So let's get straight into it. So let me rub this out real quick. Question 1. Question 1 says, Gus and Judy share a lottery prize in the ratio of 7 to 5. The prize is $240,000. How much does each receive? So the way I'm going to set this out is exactly like I've done before. We have Gus and we have Judy. And we know that if they win a lottery prize, which they did, they share it in the ratio of 7 to 5. Now, they want a total of $240,000, so we need to work out how much each person receives. Because we know the total, what we need to do is we need to find out how many parts there are and do the total divided by how many parts. So, to work out how many parts there are, we do 7 plus 5, which equals a total of 12 parts. Now we need to work out how much one part is worth. So, I'll go ahead and do $240,000, because that's a total that they've won, right? That gets divided by 12 different parts. Pop that in my calculator. $240,000 divided by 12. So that means that one part is worth $20,000. So $20,000 is one part. So now that I know the value of one part, I can multiply that into Gus's parts and then also Judy's parts. So I know Gus has 7 parts, so what I do is I do 7 times the value of one part, which is 20,000. So it's 7 times 20,000. Put that in your calculator, you get an answer of 140,000. Now, in the context of this question, what that means is that Gus wins 140,000 of that 240,000 lottery. We need to do the same with Judy. So we know that Judy won, or in Judy's ratio, there are 5 parts that belong to her. So we do 5 times the value of one part, which is $20,000. 5 times 20,000, you pop that in your calculator, you get $100,000. So what does this mean? In the context of the question, they won $240,000 from the lottery. Of that $240,000, Gus got $140,000 and Judy got $100,000 of it. That's question 1 done. Question 2. Adam needs to make 800 grams of short crust pastry. Flour and butter are needed in the ratio of 3 to 1. How much flour is needed? So, we know that there's a total of 800 grams of this pastry, and to make that pastry we need flour and butter. So there's going to be a ratio of flour to butter. Right, we know that ratio is, what does it say? It says 3 to 1. So we know it's 3 to 1. And we know that altogether we need to make, when we combine this flour and butter, it needs to make 800 grams. I'm going to do the exact same thing, work out how many parts there are, do the total amount divided by how many parts there are to work out the value of one part, and multiply it in. So I do 3 plus 1 which equals to 4. So I know there are 4 parts total. To work out the value of one part, I do the total amount of both of them combined, which in this case is 800 grams, because I want to do 800 grams of pastry. So I do 800 grams divided by 4 parts. You put 800 divided by 4 in your calculator, you get 200. So what that means is 200 grams is the equivalent of 1 part. Now we do the same thing. So I know flour. From my original ratio, there's 3 parts of flour. So I do 3 times the value of 1 part, which is 200 grams. And you get 600 grams. Then we do the same thing for butter. So for butter, there's 1 part, so we do 1 times the value of 1 part, which is 200 grams. 1 times 200 is 200 grams. So in order to make 800 grams of this short crust pastry, we need 600 grams of flour and 200 grams of butter. And that's question 2 done. So let's move on to question 3. Question 3 says Simon and Joshua's height are in the ratio of 8 to 9. Joshua is 1.71 meters tall. How tall is Simon? Not tall enough. Anyway, so we have Simon and we have Joshua. Now we know the ratio of their height. It's given in the question of 8 to 9. We also know that Joshua is 1.71 meters tall. So it's a short key. So underneath that, I'm going to put Josh's height as 1.71 meters because we know his height. And now we're going to find out the value of Simon's height. So we know that it's a 1.71 into 9 parts. So what I need to do is I need to take Joshua's height and divide that by 9. So if I do Joshua's height, which is 1.71, and divide that by 9, I'm going to get the value of 1 part, which is always what I want to do. So if on my calculator, if I do 1.71 divided by 9, I get an answer of 0.19. Camera's flipped though. So 0.19 meters is 1 part. Now that we know the value of 1 part, we can multiply that into Simon's parts and get how tall he is. So from our equation, we know that Simon is 8 parts. So we do 8 times the value of 1 part, which is 0.19. Pop that in our calculator. So 0.19 times 8, we get 1.52 meters. So 1.52 meters. So we know that Simon is 5 foot on the dot. So he's 1.52 meters, or 150 centimeters. And that's that done. Let's move on to question 4. So question 4 says market research found that cars are purchased in the following ratio of colors: white to blue to other colors, and the ratio for them is 12 to 10 to 13. Dynamo Car Mart orders 42 white cars. How many blue cars should they order? So here we're looking at a car yard and they purchase cars in a specific ratio for whatever reason. They've ordered 42 white cars. How many blue cars do they need to order? I'm going to copy out what they've done. So I know that the colors of cars that they buy are in the ratio of white to blue to other colors. Right, that's just me copying it from the question. I'm going to use a different color now. We also know the ratio is 12 to 10 to 13. That's just me copying it. And we also know that they order 42 white cars. So 42 to something to something. And what we're trying to find out is we're trying to find out how many blue cars there are. So essentially that part there. Again, all we need to do is we need to find the value of 1 part and then times that into how many white, how many parts there are for white cars. Blue cars, sorry. So we know there's 42 cars and there's 12 parts in that situation. So we do 42 divided by 12. You pop that in your calculator. 42 divided by 12, you get an answer of 3.5. So we did 42 cars divided by 12 parts, which equals 3.5. So 3.5 cars is the equivalent of one part. And we learned the value of one part. Now the question wants to know how many blue cars should they order. So if you look at blue, we know there are 10 parts. So in the question we can see there are 10 parts, and it's also written in the question itself. So 10 parts times the value of one part, which is 3.5. If you do 10 times 3.5 in the calculator, you get 35. So 35 cars. So if they order 42 white cars, they need to order 35 blue cars. And that's question 4 done. Going on to question 5. Let me use a different color, I'm sick of black. Question 5. Question 5 says, Fong, Janelle, and Ahmet bought a lotto ticket for $12. Fong put in $3, Janelle put in $3, and Ahmet put in $6. They won a total of $4,000. What is the ratio of their contributions to the ticket price? So, a bit of information there. We have 3 people, Fong, Janelle, and Ahmet, who bought a ticket for a total of $12, and they all put different amounts in. We want to find out the ratio for part A. So for part A, we want to find out the ratio. I'm going to go ahead and label my people first. So for my ratio, we have Fong. We also have Janelle. And then we also have Ahmet. I know they put in $3, $3 and $6, so I'm just going to do that below. So 3 to 3 to 6, just like that. Now, normally this would be our answer done, but remember we have to simplify where we can. So we've got to find the highest common factor into these. So what numbers go into 3? Well, 1 and 3 do. What numbers go into 3? 1 and 3. What numbers go into 6? 1, 3, and 2. Pick the highest common factor, which is 3. Then we do 3 divided by 3, which is 1. 3 divided by 3, which is 1. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. So our ratio is 1 to 1 to 2. And that's part A done. Question B says, they agree to split the winnings in the same ratio as their contribution. How much does each person get? So we know for Fong to Janelle to Ahmet, the ratio is 1 to 1 to 2. We also know that they won a total of $4,000. So because we know the total and because we need to, they have their parts, we need to work out the value of one part. To do that, we add the parts together. So we get 1 plus 1 plus 2. 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4. So we know there are 4 parts total. And we need to work out the value of one part. So we do our winnings, which is $4,000, divided by the 4 parts. 4,000 divided by 4, you can pop that in the calculator. You get $1,000 is one part. So the value of one part is $1,000. From here, we can go ahead and do the same thing we've done in the past. Fong, well, he's got one part, so we do 1 times $1,000, which equals to $1,000. Then we have Janelle, who also has one part, so we do 1 times the value of one part, which is $1,000. So we get $1,000. And finally, we have Ahmet. And Ahmet got 2 parts, so we do 2 times the value of one part, which is $1,000. 2 times $1,000 is $2,000. So in this lottery prize, they won $4,000. Fong gets $1,000, Janelle gets $1,000, and Ahmet gets $2,000. Bam, that's question 5 done. Now, our last question we're doing is question 9. So I'll scroll down to question 9. And this is a good one, I think. Well, for me, I like it. Maybe you won't, I don't know. Question 9 says, Tyson makes and sells saddles and other leather goods. I'm like, Haley, this is for you. Look at the horse girl situation. Tyson makes and sells saddles and other leather goods. Before he sells them, he treats them with a leather dressing made from lanolin and neat's foot oil, mixed in a ratio of 2 to 3. Question A says, how much neat's foot oil should Tyson mix with 40 milliliters of lanolin, whatever, to make his leather dressing? So, I know that there's this lanolin, which is in a ratio to neat's foot oil. And we know it's mixed in the ratio of 2 to 3. So, here's what we do. So in question A, it says that we have 40 milliliters of lanolin. How much neat's foot do we need? So we know it's in the ratio of 2 to 3. I'm just going to get rid of that actually. So we know that there's 40 mil. We're trying to figure out how much neat's foot. Again, we need to work out the value of one part. So what we do is we take the amount of lanolin, which is 40 milliliters. And in our question, we have two parts of whatever. So you divide that by 2 to get the value of one part. 40 divided by 2 is 20. So 20 milliliters is the equivalent of one part. Oh, my handwriting is so messy. One part. So from here, we need to work out how much neat's foot. So we know neat's foot. From our question, we know there's 3 parts. So we do 3 times the value of one part, which is 20 mil. So 3 times 20 is 60. So if there's 40 milliliters of lan, then we need 60 milliliters of neat's foot. There's our answer. Now question B says, how much leather dressing will this make? So again, all we do is we add them together. So we know there's 40 milliliters of lanolin and 60 milliliters of neat's foot. 40 plus 60 is equal to 100 milliliters. Done. Question C says, Tyler makes 200 milliliter jars of leather dressing to sell to customers of our riding school. How much ingredient does he use for each jar? So I'm gonna write it out again. So lanolin, whatever, to neat's foot oil. We know the ratio is 2 to 3. Also, just looking at my screen, on my iPad there are the lines, like for the work, but it doesn't show up on the screen, so that's probably why it looks really messy. So I apologize for that. But anyway, so we know that Tyson makes 200 milliliter jars altogether. So we know there's a total of 200 milliliters. So we have 200 milliliters. We need to know how much of lan we need and how much neat's foot. So again, we need to work out the value of one part. To do that, we find out how many parts are our total. So 2 plus 3, which equals to 5 parts total. We take the total amount that's made, so 200 milliliters. Divide that by how many parts there are, which is 5. 200 divided by 5 in your calculator, you get 40 milliliters, is the equivalent of one part. From here, we can multiply this into each thing to work out. So for lan, we know there's 2 parts, so we do 2 times the value of one part, which is 40 milliliters, which equals to 80 milliliters. Then we also know neat's foot. From the equation, there's 3 parts, so we do 3 times the value of one part, which is 40 milliliters, which equals to 120 milliliters. So we know that if he's making jars of 200 milliliters, we need 80 of lan and 120 of neat's foot. And that's done. Hopefully, I understand if this is tricky. It's worded questions. I went through it pretty fast. But that's that. Hope you guys have a good weekend. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm with Vodafone, so I don't know if I'll really get coverage up there. But I'll do my best because obviously you guys are my priority. So yeah, see you later.